Yellowstone is the oldest national park in the U.S. and the 8th largest at nearly 3,500 square miles.
You could easily spend weeks and weeks and never see all of Yellowstone, but what if you only have a couple days? We're going to show you the spots that you have to see when traveling Yellowstone.
The park is basically a figure 8 with 5 entrances: west, northwest, northeast, east, and south. Only the north entrance is open year-round. The other 4, along with connecting roads and facilities, are generally open from May to September. If you go during the peak season, you can expect pretty huge crowds. We went in early May, and the ranger gave us this map and drew the pink lines for the roads and entrances that were open. The south entrance and connecting roads were closed, but we still had plenty to see. This is our 2-day itinerary. We took the west entrance into Yellowstone.
I have one goal: to see bison, wolves, and grizzly bears. And dream 1.
Spirit life trickle down.
You'll see gorgeousness in every direction, and there are pull-offs everywhere. If you see something cool, stop. We found this pull-off shortly after entering the park.
The edge is wearing out.
Besides the wildlife and every mile of the road being breathtaking, the first stop you'll want to hit is the Fountain Paint Pot Trail.
This is one of the biggest areas of geothermal activity in the park, and all of this geothermal activity is because we are literally on top of a supervolcano, which someday will blow and probably wipe out a huge portion of the United States, but we're thousands of years away from that. This one's called red sprouter. Microorganisms called thermophiles live in here. They live off stuff like hydrogen and sulfide, and that gives off the smell that I'm experiencing right now. This is Fountain Paint Pot. This mud pot spits like thin, sloppy mud in the spring, and in drier conditions, it's all thick and bubbly. This one's got to be the most beautiful one. These beautiful shades of turquoise. Got to be super dangerous. But look at this thing. Wow. The juxtaposition of the boiling water and gases coming out of there and the snow hit me in the face is just kind of cool.
Next, you'll head south to Midway Geyser Basin.
This is crazy. There are rivers of hot water just flowing into this main river.
Midway Geyser Basin hosts Grand Prismatic Spring. It's the largest hot spring in the entire U.S. and the 3rd largest in the world.
This spring is 200 feet across. And when the steam dissipates, you can see like beautiful blue, but don't know if it's going to give us a break.
The easiest way to get an aerial view is to drive to the Ferry Falls parking lot and take the 15-minute hike. Yellowstone has 4 different kinds of hydrothermal features. Wet ones, geysers, which are bursts of boiling hot water.
This is the Excelsior Geyser. It's huge.
Unreal.
Hot springs, self-explanatory, and the drier ones, fumaroles, which are steam vents, and mud pots, which are hot bubbling clay and sand with a little bit of water.
It's believed that volcanic hot springs like this have existed on other planets in our solar system, which is possible evidence for life outside of Earth.
Next, it's a short jaunt to Old Faithful. If you want to stay in the park, there are plenty of options.
We've got a campsite booked for our tent so we can sleep in the back of the truck.
RV camping is only allowed in designated campgrounds. There are 12, but only 2 are open during our visit. You can tent camp outside these campgrounds.
There are backcountry campsites like all over the park, and here on this map you can see backcountry campsite. Wherever you see these, you can actually go camping there, but you need a permit to do it.
There are 9 lodging facilities within Yellowstone, but that can be costly or unavailable if you don't book in advance.
That's the Old Faithful Inn. We're gonna go see Old Faithful. It erupts in like 40 minutes. We're gonna try to get a shower in there. Public showers, it's like $5.
I'd say it's worth it.
But if you want a room, it's super cheap. I considered it because I'm a little bit miserable. It's only $500 a night.
Lodging just outside one of the entrances is generally going to be more reasonably priced.
This is Old Faithful. That little puff of smoke coming out of it, yeah, that's all that's left. Missed it by 15 minutes. Back there, not sure what that is. If you're seeing Old Faithful right now, it's because I found it somewhere else online just so you can see what it looks like. I'm gonna look at a couple more of the geysers around Old Faithful. There are dozens and dozens of other geothermal sites and a beautiful walk. So far the walk's pretty easy. Sulfide Spring, not too big. Guessing you probably shouldn't drink it. It literally feels like you are on another planet. You know, you'd see these movies and the ground is like exploding around you. That's what this is. It's surreal. And it smells like rotten eggs. I'm freezing cold and I would love to go into a hot springs sauna thing right now. I want to jump in. Should I jump in? If I had to guess, I would say that that is not ice water. I feel like that's what a geyser should look like. I'll bet you it gets much bigger. I mean, look how wet it is. I guessed correctly. This sucker sprouts water up to 200 feet in the air. It's one of the
most powerful geysers in the entire Yellowstone Basin.
This is how I know when Trevor isn't feeling well, because I'm like the one, stop, 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 look at how beautiful this is. And he wouldn't get out of the car. So this was definitely worth getting out for.
Both of us feeling a little bit sick. We had COVID in, didn't know it. We headed off to one of only 2 open campgrounds in the entire park at the time, Madison.
Last night we stealth camped outside of the park and it looked like this and it was glorious. But today we're in the campground. Here's what our sleeping quarters look like now. There's the wife. Here's breakfast happening, and that's our view. Instead of whatever we had yesterday, this time we got a bathroom right behind us. I'm pretty sure these are bear prints, and some people said there was a bear over here. Bear scat. We have till 11 to get out of here, and we're gonna show you our day 2 itinerary.
If you are coming to Yellowstone, you gotta take your time. Don't plan on being anywhere in a rush because there may be bison blocking the road and a bunch of cars stopping to take pictures.
Going north from Madison Campground, one of the first places you're probably going to stop, unless you see a grizzly bear, is the Norris Geyser Basin. This is another massive basin full of all kinds of thermal activity. We almost didn't stop because Leo's like, I've seen 50 geysers, but I'm on a path to Norris Campground. I just crossed over that. It looks like it's kind of abandoned and it's kind of sketchy. I mean, look at this path. I'm not sure why the water is this color or if it's safe to be touching, but obviously a lot of this is a result of some crazy geothermal activity here. I can't get Leo to cross over to here.
Nobody's out here. Gonna have to report you. What are you doing?
Whoop, did it. I've never seen a lake quite like this. It's like it's like from a scene from Lost. We've seen a lot of geysers and thermal stuff already, but this is the coolest place. You've got to go to the Norris Geyser Basin. It's insane. Next, we suggest you stop at Roaring Mountain. We talked to a guy that's seen a grizzly here like 4 out of the last 5 days. And I'm also making us some lunch right here. We're at the parking lot for Roaring Mountain, but if you go about a mile that way or a mile that way, you've got a good chance at seeing a grizzly.
There's no guarantee of your safety here.
If you do encounter a bear, don't run away, stay far away, don't feed him. If they charge you, stand still and spray him with your bear spray. And if it makes contact, drop to the ground, put your hands over your neck and play dead. Hopefully we won't see a bear. Wait a second, I want to see a bear, I just don't want one to eat me. The first time we went through Roaring Mountain, we did not see any bears, but the next time we were rewarded with this beauty.
When there is a grizzly, it's easy to know because this is what the road conditions look like. And we have several rangers making sure people stay 100 yards away.
That was pretty magical to see her. It's a 3-year-old and she was just digging away.
And a little farther down the road, the highlight of our trip.
The conditions can change really rapidly. We were just here watching those bears, and boy, the snowstorm's kicking in.
This is what's known as a grizzly bear traffic jam. People just stop up the street to get shots of those grizzlies. Next, you'll want to head north to Mammoth Hot Springs. It's more geothermal activity, but it's considerably different than anything we'd seen so far.
Right now I am just almost at the northern entrance of Mammoth at Mammoth Hot Springs. And this is different from other hot springs in thermal activity in the park because it creates all these beautiful terraced hot springs. The springs are constantly changing. Sometimes they can be kind of dry like they're looking here, and sometimes they can be flowing, just depends on all the thermal activity beneath and earthquakes and the paths that the water takes.
And behind us is the whole little town of Mammoth Hot Springs, so we are not very far away from that original entrance into Yellowstone. So if you were coming to Yellowstone in the early days, this is one of the first features you would see.
Just a few more clicks north, Leela made an important discovery.
Guys, I didn't know that I would find this. Look, we're halfway between the equator and the North Pole. Who knew? I could either go to the equator from here, or I could go to the North Pole. I think I'm gonna go.
Since you're almost there, you'll want to head the rest of the way north to
The north entrance to Yellowstone. This is the original entrance. It's a beautiful, iconic location. It sits next to this adorable little town called Gardiner. We walked the town. We actually saw lots of wildlife just walking around.
And I may have gotten a little bit carried away filming the elk because when I looked down the hill that I'd climbed with my camera, I saw 2 rangers waiting for me. The ranger could have given me a citation, but she turned out to be very kind and simply explained to me how to better follow the guidelines.
A good rule of thumb is stay outside of 25 yards away from wildlife, which includes the elk, but any distance that disturbs wildlife, and that's looking at animal behavior. Like I said to you, when the elk are standing up, when you start to approach them and they start running away, that's still disturbing wildlife. So the biggest thing is any distance that would disturb wildlife or is disturbing wildlife.
Our biggest goal for day 2 was to see more wildlife, so we headed east
towards the northeast entrance and just stopped to see wildlife along the way. To kind of get an inkling of where wildlife might be, you just look and see where a bunch of cars are stopped, or you can see bison crossing the road. And here we found a bunch of people stopped. They were looking at a bear and a couple of wolves. So we just took the dirt road back here and we're at the Slough Creek Campground. And right back there, you can probably see there's a couple elk just chilling. There's animals everywhere. We're gonna keep going a little bit farther east and just hoping to see more wildlife.
Trevor, you might want to put the car on, because look, right, because this guy's coming right here. Okay, so we've seen a lot of bisons, but not this many babies in one shot.
If you want to see more animals in Yellowstone, you for sure want to go through Lamar Valley. We drove all the way through Lamar Valley and out the park through the tiny towns just outside the northeast entrance. To see how we survived truck tent camping with COVID in -10-degree weather right before we reached Yellowstone, click right there.